What if the hardest day of your 60-day transformation isn't day 1? What if it's a completely ordinary day around? Day 23, when nothing feels different, nobody notices your effort, and your brain starts whispering that this whole challenge was pointless. Because there is a moment inside, a 60-day transformation that almost nobody talks about. You don't feel stronger. You don't feel motivated. You don't even feel like the person you promised yourself you'd become. And that is exactly where the real change begins. For the next 60 days, you're not trying to become perfect. You're testing something much more important. Can you teach your brain that your old behavior is no longer who you are? Think about your current routine. You wake up. You check your phone. You tell yourself you'll study after 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes become 30. Then you feel guilty. You promise tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow arrives. Same room. Same phone. Same excuses. And slowly, without realizing it, those actions become evidence. Your brain starts building a story. This is just how I am. Maybe you're the student who always procrastinates. Maybe you're the person who starts something and quits after a week. Maybe you know exactly what you should be doing, but somehow you keep doing everything else. The danger isn't one wasted afternoon. The danger is repetition becoming identity. That's why 60 days. Not because some magical switch flips on day 60. It doesn't. The power of 60 days is that it's long enough to expose you to the part of change. That a short challenge lets you escape. 30 days can feel exciting. You can survive 30 days on motivation. But 60? 60 days gives you enough time to experience boring mornings, bad moods, difficult exams, distractions, weekends, setbacks, and those days when absolutely nothing inside you wants to cooperate. And every time you act differently anyway, you're giving your brain new evidence. You study when you want to scroll. You sleep when everyone else is watching videos. You finish the assignment before opening the game. You exercise even when nobody is watching, not because you're suddenly disciplined, because you're repeatedly proving that the old version of you doesn't automatically control your next decision. The first 20 days are about interruption. You're interrupting the automatic pattern. The phone doesn't get to decide when you start studying. Your mood doesn't get to decide whether you work. Your excuses don't get the final vote. And at first, this feels exhausting because you're fighting a routine that has been running without permission for months or even years. But keep going, because somewhere between the beginning and the end, something changes. Not your circumstances, not your grades overnight, not your entire life. Something quieter, something inside the decision-making system of your mind. And when that happens, you'll finally understand why most people never reach day 60. Days 21 to 45 are where the challenge gets ugly. The excitement is gone. The calendar doesn't look impressive anymore. You've already proved you can start. Now your brain wants to know whether you'll continue when starting no longer feels special. Imagine this. It's day 24. You have school tomorrow. Your books are sitting on the desk. Your phone is beside you. You tell yourself you'll study for 1 hour. Then you see one notification. You open it. One video. Then another. Suddenly, it's 11:47 p.m. You look at your books, and that familiar voice appears. I'll fix it tomorrow. This is the invisible wall. Not a physical wall. A psychological one. You've done enough repetition for the new routine to feel familiar, but not enough for the old routine to disappear. So both versions of you are competing. The old you wants comfort now. The future you wants results later, and every small decision becomes a vote. 5 minutes of scrolling? Vote for the old pattern. Closing the app? Vote for the new one. Skipping today's study session? Old pattern. Sitting down anyway? New one. The scary part is that during this stage, you may not see much progress. Your grades might still look the same. Your body might look the same. Your confidence might still feel weak. Your friends may not notice anything, and your brain hates invisible rewards. It wants proof. Now, that's why people quit. They mistake a plateau for failure. They say it's not working. But what they don't understand is that the most important work may be happening before the results become visible. You're teaching yourself to keep a promise without needing an audience. And then comes another trap. The challenge becomes too normal. Day 1 felt powerful. Day 10 felt serious. Day 20 felt impressive. Day 30? Just another Tuesday. That's when discipline stops being an event and starts becoming behavior. You don't need a motivational video every morning. You don't need to feel inspired. You simply follow the rule you created. Study before entertainment. Work out before endless scrolling. Finish the important task before the easy dopamine. Sleep at the time you decided. And when you fail, and you probably will, don't turn one bad day into a bad week. You don't say, I ruined the challenge. You say, that was one day. Day 31 still exists. Because the goal isn't to create 60 perfect days. The goal is to create 60 opportunities to become less controlled by your impulses. By around day 40, something strange can happen. You may still want to procrastinate, but now you notice the urge. You may still want to scroll, but now you catch yourself. You may still feel lazy, but laziness no longer automatically becomes action. There's a tiny gap, a pause, and inside that pause is the beginning of control. Then you reach the final stretch, days 46 to 60, and this is where the challenge stops asking, can you do this? It starts asking something much deeper. Who are you now? Now we can answer the question from the beginning. What happens around day 23? Why do so many people quit there? Because day 23 is often where the excitement disappears before the identity shift becomes obvious. You are caught between two versions of yourself. The old version still feels familiar. The new version still feels uncomfortable. And most people return to familiar. But if you continue through that invisible wall, the equation starts changing. By days 46 to 60, you have accumulated something more valuable than motivation. Evidence. You have evidence that you can study when you don't feel like studying. Evidence that you can put the phone away. Evidence that you can wake up and follow a plan. Evidence that one bad day doesn't have to control the next one. And your brain pays attention to repeated evidence. You stop saying, I want to become disciplined. You start thinking, I'm someone who finishes what I start. That sentence sounds small. It isn't. Because identity changes behavior, and behavior keeps reinforcing identity. The student who once needed an hour to begin studying may now begin in 5 minutes. Not because studying suddenly became fun, because resistance stopped being a command. The person who used to spend 3 hours scrolling may still open social media, but now they recognize the moment they're slipping. That's the transformation. Not becoming a machine, becoming harder to control, harder to distract, harder to pull away from your own priorities. And here's what makes 60 days powerful. At the end, you're not simply looking back at a challenge. You're looking at a collection of decisions that your old self would have avoided. 60 days ago, you needed a reason to act. Now you have a record. You have proof. And that proof becomes dangerous in the best possible way. Because once you've experienced yourself changing, you can't comfortably believe the old story anymore. I'm lazy. Really? Then explain those 60 days. I can't stay consistent. Really? Then explain day 1 through day 60. I'm just not disciplined. That was never a permanent personality trait. It was a pattern, and patterns can be interrupted. So, here's your challenge. For the next 60 days, choose a few non-negotiable actions. Keep them simple. Study for a defined amount of time. Exercise. Control your screen time. Sleep properly. Work on one skill that could matter to your future. And track every day. Don't build a fantasy routine with 15 rules. Build something you can actually repeat when life gets messy. Then start today. Not Monday. Not next month. Not after your exams. Today, before you close this video, write down day 1. Write down what you will do. Then do the smallest version of it immediately. Because the first victory isn't becoming a completely different person. It's catching yourself at the exact moment you were about to choose the old pattern and choosing differently. Do that again tomorrow, and again, and again, until one day you look at your life and realize the person who started this challenge isn't running the system anymore. Don't wait 60 days to change your life. Use the next 60 days to become someone who can't go back.